Note to myself, buy more Convex grind knives. Hello my fellow chef knives enthusiasts. In this video we're diving into the delicious world of knife geometry and its impact on food release. We've handpicked a bunch of blades from our Mesa Slabers inventory, each with a distinct cross-section geometry and grind, to discover which one reigns supreme when it comes to food release. The cross-sectional geometry is very important for the cutting feel and performance of a knife. The grind of a knife can spill the beans on its performance before you even slice a tomato. There are more grinds than there are ways to julienne a carrot, but we've narrowed it down to 3 grinds that we see most in our inventory. The full flat grind, the flat grind and convex grind. Though you might bump into other grinds like a hollow grind or a S grind or a C grind or perhaps even a traditional German Walksleeve grind. But without further ado, let's see which of these 3 grinds will give you the best food release on a knife. The Myojin versus carrot. It just glides through the carrot like there's no friction. But as you can see, the food release on this knife is terrible. Better yet, instead of releasing food, the food actually gets sucked onto the blade like a hickey. If you are a home chef and only have to cut 1 or 2 carrots, this might not be a huge issue. But imagine if you have to cut dozens of carrots. This will get annoying really fast. It feels like this piece of carrot is glued on the blade with some super glue. Myojin versus cucumber. Obviously, a cucumber contains a lot of moisture and it is softer compared to a carrot, but the same thing is happening. All slices stick to the blade. This blade has some serious attachment issues. Myojin versus sweet potato. Cutting through something hard, solid and dense like a sweet potato is no problem for the Myojin sharpened edge, but letting go of the slices seems to be the problem. I know, it's hard to let go sometimes, but letting go often is the only thing to hold on to. Myojin versus tomato. Wow, the first slice that falls off the blade with this knife. And then the fun is immediately over. We're back to the sticky icky again. Yeah, I think we're done with this knife. The knife just flew through all the things, but the food release was super bad. I'm giving it a 23% score. If you're looking for a knife with great food release, look somewhere else. This is not the knife for you. Takamura versus carrot. Very sticky. Much stiction to the blade. All slices attach themselves to the surface of the blade like a leech. Now it seems to have good food release? Strange. Maybe it was a glitch in the full flat grind matrix. Takamura versus cucumber. See how the slices stick and slide towards my fingers and then just fly and roll everywhere? Definitely fails the food release test with a cucumber. Takamura versus sweet potato. This grind on a knife turns slices of sweet potato into suction caps. Look at that. This sucks. Takamura versus tomato. The food release with the tomato isn't great either. I think we've seen enough on the full flat grind in action. Conclusion: the almost full flat grind on this Takamura, it did slightly better than the Myojin, but I can't give it a higher score than 31%. Tanaka versus carrot. After the last 2 knives with a somewhat full flat grind, I'm not expecting much from these blades. And yeah, as you can see, there is a lot of stiction again. Slices of carrot flying everywhere. It's a mess. Since this is the 3rd knife I'm testing with a full flat grind, I think there is an obvious pattern emerging. Full flat grinds on a knife are amazing to go through things, but it sucks when it comes to releasing things. J&S Tanaka versus Cucumber. Sure, it cuts through the cucumber like it's not even there, but every slice sticks to the blade. Zero exceptions. J&S Tanaka versus Sweet Potato. I think I don't even have to say anything anymore. The footage is pretty much speaking for itself. J&S Tanaka versus Tomato. See how the first slice of the tomato does fall off with all three knives? It might have to do with the height of the ingredient. If there is not a big surface, it has a less chance to stick itself onto the blade. When I'm cutting half the size of the tomato, it actually does have decent food release. Conclusion. This J&S Yoshikazu Tanaka with an almost full flat grind did not do much better than the other two knives. I will give it a 39% score, and I think that's nothing to be proud of. Based on this test with these three ingredients and these knives, it is pretty clear to see the disadvantage of a full flat grind on a knife. The flat bevels make a lot of wood sticking to the side of your blade by creating a culinary Velcro effect. And that can and probably will be very annoying in use. If you are looking for a knife that goes through things like a surgeon's scalpel, the full flat grind might be your best bet. But when it comes to food release, stay far away from knives with a full flat grind. Now, let's try a few knives with a different grind, the flat grind. Tanaka versus Carrot. Okay, the first two slices are promising, but it actually doesn't do much better than the full flat grind knives we tried. Pretty much every slice of carrot ends up sticking to the blade as well. Doesn't matter if I cut slowly or faster, it pretty much all sticks to the blade, with a few lucky exceptions. Tanaka versus Cucumber. Cucumber really likes to stick to this blade as well. Every slice. They do fall off when I cut the next slice, so at least there is less suction and stiction with this grind. Tanaka versus Sweet Potato. Interesting. It seems that with this taller and dense sweet potato, the flat grind actually can make a difference with respect to food release. Yeah, it definitely helps. Look how these slices are just getting pushed off the blade after they pass the ridge of the primary bevel. Tanaka versus Tomato. With the tomato, it does not do so well. Like with the full flat grind knives, it sticks, but not severely. Conclusion, this knife gave a little spark of hope. It did really well on the sweet potato, but just slightly better than the full flat grind knives on the other three ingredients. Nevertheless, I'm giving this knife a 47% score, just because of how well it was dealing with that sweet potato. Fujiwara versus Carrots. Oh wow, this is the first knife that is dealing pretty good with the carrot. It doesn't let go of the carrot flawlessly, but I can feel every slice does wants to fall off. And you can really see how the ridge on the primary bevel prevents it from sticking all the way up to the spine of the blade. See? Now cutting a carrot all of a sudden becomes way more fun and a lot less annoying. Fujiwara versus Cucumber. Okay, so cucumber still gets stuck, but it's not glued to the blade. It does fall off easily when the next slice hits the previous slice. Fujiwara versus Sweet Potato. Oh hell yeah! Now we're talking. Look at this. This is what I like to see. There is still hope for humanity. Every slice just falls off the blade and stays on the cutting board in a neat row. Except for the last one. Fujiwara versus tomato. It seems like this is the first knife that does well on the tomato. Oh yeah, this is very acceptable. Well done, Fujiwara. Conclusion: the flat grind on this Fujiwara did the best job up till now. It did okay with the carrot, not too well on the cucumber, almost perfect with the sweet potato, and very acceptable on the tomato. So I'm giving this one a score of 82%, and that really feels good after all the previous low scores. Hado versus carrot. Not a great start. Unfortunately, every slice of carrot sticks to the blade. They are not sticking to the blade like strong magnets, but there is stiction for sure. It cuts through a carrot like a dream, but hey, we are looking for great food release, and I don't see any of that right now. Like, literally zero food release. Hado versus cucumber. Nope. Nope. Nuh-uh. Nope. Hell no. Still a perfect score, if you're not looking for good release, that is. Hado versus sweet potato. Let's see if the height of a sweet potato makes any difference here. Doesn't seem like it. Still every slice sticks. Wow. This knife is probably the worst of them all so far when it comes to food release. I can't seem to make anything fall off this blade. Hado versus tomato. Woohoo! The first slice of tomato falls off, but that happened with all the knives. Few slices don't get stuck to the blade right here. But this is a typical too little too late situation if you would ask me. Conclusion: what a sticky blade this is. I love the Hado knives for their impeccable fit and finish, their attention to detail, the craftsmanship involved. But now I unfortunately should add the worst food release to that list. I'm giving this knife 35%, and frankly I don't understand why. I probably should give it 15%. The Yoshikane versus carrot. This Yoshikane blade doesn't seem to be a step up. I'm starting to think that it's almost impossible to find a knife with amazing food release, other than the Glass Stain K series of course. But amongst these full flat and flat ground knives, only the Fujiwara kind of impressed me. Or should I say surprised me. Anyway, this Yoshikane doesn't let go of the carrot. Yoshikane versus cucumber. Oh boy, forget about it. But they do fall off and the next slice pushes the previous slice away. I think that's a win for the blade. It's at least something. Yoshikane versus sweet potato. Will it stick? Oh yes it will. Oh, it's sticky alright. This is that point where it really starts to get annoying again. The slices fly and roll everywhere. This is not the workflow that I'm usually looking for. Yoshikane versus tomato. Wait. What? After all that stiction, it does good on a tomato? I did not see that coming. Wow. Conclusion: this blade was a pain in the ass to cut with when it comes to food release. Things would just stick to the blade and then fly everywhere when pushed off the blade. But then there was a tomato. It did somewhat okay with that. So for that, I will score it not lower than a 23%. That ends this testing with flat grind knives. After testing a few full flat grind and flat grind knives, only one of the knives made a good impression with respect to food release. Now let's see if the next two knives with a convex grind will do better. Kaeru versus carrot. Would you look at that? Nice! Now that's what you want if you need to cut a lot of stuff. It's just so nice and convenient to be able to keep on cutting without stuff creeping up on your blade until it hits your finger, without stuff flying everywhere. This is awesome! Kaeru versus cucumber. Even cucumber does not stick too easily on this blade. We only have just a little stiction, but what a difference with all the other blades. I'm starting to like this Convex grind. Kaeru versus sweet potato. Look at that! This is very good food release happening right in front of my very own eyes. Loving it. Kaeru versus tomato. Even tomato falls off. Except one slice, of course. You can't have perfection all the time. But look how easily it goes through, and then let's go with the tomato. I'm impressed. This is what I need from a knife when cutting a lot of things in the kitchen. Conclusion. After all the stuff getting stuck to the blades on all the other knives, this is such a relief. It's so satisfying to see and feel a blade go through stuff like a hot knife through butter, and then also have little to nothing stick to the blade. It gets you in a nice workflow. You can work faster and cleaner, and it just makes cutting things and cooking more fun. I'm happy to score this knife a whopping 98%. Homuraguren versus carrot. Okay, it doesn't seem to be a fluke. Also, this Convex grind knife has more than decent food release. Not every slice falls off, but definitely most of them. Yeah, now we're having fun, people. Homuraguren versus cucumber. And again, even cucumber has a hard time sticking to this blade. That's a good sign to me. Homuraguren versus sweet potato. Do you see that? This knife makes the sweet potato jump away off the blade. That's awesome to see. Homuraguren versus tomato. Compared to all the other knives, this knife does the best job on a tomato. No doubt. The tomato slices are hardly moving. They mostly just stay where they are at. Conclusion. This Homuraguren, thanks to its thickness and Convex grind, it has amazing food release. None of the stuff I was cutting today got a chance to get stuck in this blade. It did so well. It almost did as well as the J&S Kaeru. So I'm giving this one a 96% score. There you have it, guys. Cutting the same stuff using the same cutting technique with 3 different grinds, and the results are clear. You could see it with your own eyes. Convex grind for the win. By a landslide. No contest. So if you are looking for a knife with good food release, make sure to check if the knife has a nice convex grind on it. Chances are that when you start using a knife with a convex grind, happiness will follow. Your workflow will be less interrupted, your kitchen will be less of a mess, and those are all facts. Note to myself, buy more convex grind knives. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate the like and comments. You are awesome. See you in the next video. Bye, folks.